Have Mr. Mark Yeager come up to introduce our next guest.
Well, thank you. Y'all, Devin, thank you for inviting us over to this meeting. I know a few people out here, not many, but we're probably the most unexperienced textile people here as far as the technical end of it. But I wanted to introduce Anna. Anna's always been a hard worker. She was Miss Hartsville High School at her high school. She graduated on time from Auburn, and didn't cost us any extra there. And she graduated with honors in graphic design. She never did move home. She went straight to New York City and lived there for 2 or 3 years, and she really learned a lot. She got all her achievements. She was nominated top 30, under 30 in New York City advertisement. She joined me in Redland Cotton, helped me start it 7 years ago. She was the 2022 Woman of Impact in Alabama and featured as one of Victoria Magazine's 2023 Entrepreneurs of Bliss. She's been married for 9 years, and she's got 2 kids, Catherine and George, and she's got one on the way. But anyway, I look forward to hearing her presentation, and she's really good. If you need to talk to her, send her an email. Believe me.
Well, thank you very much. And my name is Anna Brakefield. I was formerly a Yeager, but like he said, I've been married for 9 years. I am currently pregnant with my 3rd child. So I have a stool behind me just in case I need to reference that in a second, because, you know, pregnancy can do really weird things to you. But I just wanted to say that I'm really thankful to be here. I'm going on about 4 hours of sleep. We were part of the weather delays yesterday, so we ran through the airport. We waited in line. I went to the airport this morning and got my luggage at 6:30. So, I mean, what you see here today has been really worked hard for. But I am going to try to make this brief so that y'all can get to the very important golf outing. And hopefully this will be enlightening, at the very least, entertaining. I wanted to start out by giving a little millennial work story. I think that feeds in really well to our previous conversation. As my dad stated, I am a hard worker, but I'm a hardcore millennial. If you do want to reach me, I do not have a business card. I don't want you to call me on the phone. I would prefer that you email me. And my email is anna@redlandcotton.com. It's very easy. But I will say that I have many talents, and designing presentations is not one of them. So for my story, Dad said that I went to New York right after college. I took a job as an art director, and I think they were trying to test me, and they put me in the presentation designing department for like 2 days. And I must have been so irritable and not good to work with that they immediately moved me out. Like, I was not good at all. And I started to look for another job because they had not communicated to me that this was something that they wanted me to do, and they just put me in there, and I didn't like it, and so I immediately went and interviewed at Macy's. The good news is that they course corrected really quickly, and I stayed there for the rest of my time in New York. But that's just a really good story. Like, I'm a really good worker, but you can't just move me somewhere I don't want to be. So, anyway, now you've all formed opinions about me, and we're going to move on. What I'm going to talk about today is our company, Redland Cotton. I'm going to talk about how we built the U.S. supply chain and how I'm selling it to make money. So, next slide. So I'm going to talk about creating the foundation of Redland Cotton, which to me was essential for all of our continued success, to have a foundation that is strong. So I would like a show of hands, who has heard about Redland Cotton? Yay, who has not heard about Redland Cotton? Oh, okay, great. I did not travel all this way to talk to a bunch of people who knew about me. So we started in 2016 with a mission to create a 100% American-made bedding with cotton grown exclusively on our family farm. It started by my dad and I, a very unlikely partnership, one that is continually tested daily. And in the fall of 2016, we launched our first line of bed sheets. And we started with 2 styles. We had a hem stitch sheet set and a lace trim sheet set. They were made for us in a small corner shop in New Jersey. And the supply chain was made possible by a bunch of people in this room. So we'll go to the next slide. Woo!
Oh, what did I just do?
Hey, that was me in college.
All right. What did I do?
You can see the transformation. That's my daughter. Here, I'll help you out.
We need a millennial operating that thing.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. No, you're good. What I should have done is I put this on the phone.
Okay.
Well, oh, it's doing it. Where? There we go. I apologize, guys.
No, we're good.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have the touch.
No, it's okay. So you got to see a little bit of my transformation. So that was good. College was fun. I went to Auburn University and I was an Alpha Chi. We did a lot of formals. It was great. So when we met with the Hamrick team and we met with the crew at Parkdale, they asked us what we wanted to make, what kind of bed sheet, because we had already determined that we wanted to make a bed sheet because that was going to consume the most cotton, right? Turns out that was the hardest thing to do in the United States, because our resources are a touch limited, and we can talk about that in the opportunities section. Very positively named opportunities. But we decided we wanted to make something really unique. So my dad was very inspired by his grandmother's bed sheets, how they would be stiff with starch coming off of the clothesline, but once you broke them in and started to sleep on them, they were so soft and comforting. And so that is what we decided to make. We were going to make an heirloom bed sheet. And we were going to focus on making textiles right in the way that they used to be made with pride here in America and kind of round out the story that way. Another core inspiration was the idea of telling this story that is uniquely farm to home. That has been our calling card from day one, is that we can tell you a supply chain story that starts at the seed level and ends going to your home. So if you come and visit us in Moulton, Alabama, our warehouse is right next to the cotton field and the cotton gin, and you can kind of see the start and the finish of our supply chain right there within a couple of acres. And we set out to tell the why and the how behind our business. You know, the last speaker talked a lot about transparency and meaning, and we want to know more. And I don't think that is just a millennial or a Gen X thing. I think that we're all looking to know more about the products that we buy and to have transparency not only in our workplace but also in the retail space as well. And finally, we were inspired to do more with the exceptional cotton crop that we are growing in North Alabama. Next slide. So our motivations are pretty apparent, and my dad had expressed frustration over seeing textiles coming in from overseas at unrealistically low prices, overseeing a low price for cotton next to a relatively high premium good that was out there. And then the reason why I got excited about this project, and again, this is speaking to the millennial, it was an opportunity to drive the narrative of the U.S. textile supply chain in a different direction. So instead of complaining about the lack of resources, the lack of opportunities, about it going away or going overseas, to change the conversation and be part of it in a positive way. That was something that was meaningful to me. So I was a little bit less inspired by the frustrating aspects and more excited about the opportunities. And as something else that we also try to talk a lot about is modern farming. There's a lot of conversation and narrative about organic farming and how bad cotton farming is for the health and wellness of everybody around there. And it's a great opportunity for us to stand up and say that how we are farming is a progressive, better way to do things and not necessarily harmful to the environment. Next slide. So we decided very early on to be committed, and that would be tested and continues to be tested today. We are fully committed to this U.S. textile supply chain with no exceptions. We recently entered into a partnership with Banana Republic and have faced other opportunities where we would like to do something different, meet another customer need, and sometimes we're faced with some challenges that are like, we don't have that capability. But regardless, we are committed to being American made and making things here and figuring out a way to make it work. We decided to be committed to telling our story on social media and every other channel to promote modern farming and U.S. manufacturing. And we are committed to quality, to produce the best product that we can, regardless of the cost. If it's worth it, and this is kind of my motto, if it's worth it, we can make that case to our customers and we can communicate the value. Next slide. So our core principles: our product must be made from cotton grown on our family farm. Our product must be made entirely in the USA. Our company will be family owned and operated. And our products will be created with an heirloom-like quality, meaning that it's a product that you're proud to pass down to the next generation or give as a wedding gift. It is an heirloom quality product. And our company will invest in the education and promotion of U.S. agriculture and American textiles. Next slide. So a little bit about Redland Farms. Contrary to popular belief on social media, the name Redland has nothing to do with the political nature of our business. We actually farm red clay soil. We get a lot of comments about red being in the name, and we're from a red state, and so that must mean that we are highly political. And that's a great education opportunity to say we farm red soil, and it has nothing to do with our politics. Dad and my brothers farm about 5,000 acres of cotton and corn. He started the farm in 1983, and he runs it with my brothers Mark and Joe. And another thing that really sets us apart is the cotton gin. So all of our bales, or what I like to say, is custom ginned. We're able to select the absolute best bales to go into our product, and that just starts the conversation about quality at that level. Next slide. So how we put it all together, and anybody who knows Jack Miller, I want you to take a picture right now and send it to him, because I told him I was going to put a big picture of him up on the slide, and he said, "Don't you dare." And I did. So y'all just let him know.
I will.
Because he also decided to not come today. And I know. I was like, "Jack, it's okay. He's spending time with his grandkids."
Okay.
But Cotton Incorporated was a really key resource in the beginning. We met with them, talked about our fiber quality, what we could make with the cotton that we were growing. Here we go, phone calls. If my dad is anything, he is someone who can talk on the phone. So he made a ton of phone calls, and he has probably talked to almost every person in this room. But the good news about our partnership is he can make phone calls and I can follow up. And I am nothing but an executioner. So if he calls you, he will probably say, and you can follow up with Anna. She likes to be contacted by email, and this is her email. We connected with Jack Miller really early on. For those who don't know Jack Miller, he is an old school textile guy who is not going silently into the night. He is out there promoting U.S. textiles and helping crazy people like us start businesses. And I think he's sticking with us. I think we've created some loyalty in him, so hopefully he's not out there starting competitive businesses. But we met with each partner in our supply chain personally and pitched our idea to them. And I mean, it took the Hamricks and Parkdale and Brewster Yates and all of us getting together at Tex Process in May of 2016 and all agreeing to make this thing a reality, which I think was, like, that will forever be a poignant memory in my mind. Next slide. Oh, we're back to college. So a special mention to all the guys that gave us our start. Parkdale Mills, their Spun Lab location, spun our yarn. Hamrick Mills wove it. Yates Bleachery finished it. And these sweet little ladies in New Jersey made our first couple of rounds of sheet sets, and then we found a cut and sew in our hometown that did our production for us until 2020, almost exclusively. Next slide. So a quick recap, and there's some great photos I hope that you can see. We started out, I cleared out one room in my dad's gin office, and I was really optimistic, as you can tell by all the boxes that I ordered. But we launched in October of 2016 with those two lines of bed sheets. I had 2 shelves in the gin office, and I pre-sold this bedding based on a charcoal illustration that I drew. And I didn't have any photography for it. I was just going out there slinging stuff and seeing if anybody would buy it, and they did. They bought sheets off of an illustration. Isn't that crazy? Would y'all do that? Would you? No. You seem skeptical. I don't think you would. But maybe if you had visited my Squarespace website that I launched, maybe you would have been convinced then. But I lived in Nashville with my husband. I've been married a year. I came down to Moulton once a week and shipped our orders from the gin office and physically loaded every box into the UPS and US mail truck. So, a big part of what I'm going to talk about is what I know, which is selling stuff. So Before we sold our first set of sheets, I wrote blog posts, I posted to social media, and we began taking this potential customer through this farm to home process. Oops, there we go. Via words and pictures and video. And I mean, sometimes I look at the engagement that we had on some of those first posts on Instagram, and I'm like, you know what, that wasn't bad. Like, to just start an account, we did pretty darn good. But that's how we got people excited about these illustrations of bed sheets, is taking them. We went to Hamrick and took photos there. We went to Yates and tried to take the best pictures that didn't look like a scary haunted house. You know, we told the story of how we were making this product, and it resonated. It resonated with the boomers all the way down the line, because like I said, transparency, hearing a story, all of that matters. And it matters to you guys too, because I see all of you out here and you know what you're doing. It doesn't matter what age you are, you're looking at your phones. I see you. You're all doing it. And even if you don't want to acknowledge that, like, okay, so you would rather call me to tell me something, you're on your phone right now. You like it. Accept it. But we learned the process ourselves, and essentially as I was taking the tour through Hamrick, through Yates, at Parkdale, I was learning and therefore communicating it to my customers. And that's how I did it. I would come home from the trip and write a blog post and share it. And that's how I shared it with my customers. And by the first fall when we launched, we had generated enough buzz to get Southern Living to do an article about what we were doing. So, I mean, and that was with no paid PR, that was just posting on Instagram and on our blog post. I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit long. If y'all are like, I'm sick of this, just...
You're good, you're good.
It's a great story. Thank you.
Thank you. So we had a really successful start, and we were feeling really good. We were like, oh, we got this. And this is just my opinion. We set a clear moral compass about what we wanted to do and what we wanted to accomplish, and that governs every single thing that we have done since. I think without setting that clear foundation, we could have been all over the place. But as long as we come back to those first few slides that I talked about in the beginning, I don't ever question very much about the next movement. Does it go back to what we laid out in the beginning? And if it does, I feel like it's going to resonate with the customer and we should move forward. But I feel like we did not get stuck in analysis paralysis. You know, we didn't spend a ton of money on a logo or a tagline or anything like that. I did drawings and sold them. You know, I think, and I see this in my generation a ton. We will sit there and analyze and just like have to have it perfect before it gets into the world. And it's so not true. You can just throw things out there and then you can change them later. As long as the background and the foundation is set, your customers will keep up with you, in my opinion. Well, let's go to the next slide. So, I've identified these things that matter the most to our customers just by looking at our reviews, looking at our comments on Facebook. They love a family-owned business. They love transparency. They love a fully U.S. supply chain. People get crazy about it, and they will spend a ton of money supporting it because they love it and they love to feel involved. And that's why it's so important to share that transparency so that they feel personally invested. And I'll share a review at the end of our presentation today that I think really encaptures how our customer feels when they purchase our product. But they like to see a reinvestment and something that makes them feel like their dollars are at work as well. So I think they like to feel, and this is boomers all the way, silent people down to the X's and Y's, that they are making a difference. That they aren't just buying a product to receive a product, but it's making a change that they want to see. Because a lot of us are looking out there in the news and in the world and saying, I don't like it, for whatever reason, And any way that we can put our hard-earned money into something and say, I bought this because I believe this, I think that spans the generations. And something that they want is an expanded product offering. And that has been hard for us because every time that we go into a new product, it's like, okay, well, let's start at the cotton level and then go to spinning or knitting or weaving and see what we can do to bring this product about that this customer wants. And then versatility in purchasing and ease of use. So I'll touch on this, but it matters to a millennial that it's easy and quick, but it also has to be easy and quick for the older generations, or they're just not going to buy the product because they do get confused. Next. It's okay. So how we've responded to what matters. We've been telling our story to anyone and everyone in any way possible, and that has come at a cost to us. Redland Cotton, we're not ashamed of the amount of money we have put into advertising us. And by advertising us, we're advertising the U.S. supply chain. So we spend on PR, we spend on marketing, and it's not just pay-per-click, web ads. I mean, how many of y'all watch Fox News? Have you seen our ads?
Yes.
Okay, yes. But I was talking to a friend earlier and she said, it just feels like y'all are all over the place. Y'all are everywhere right now. And that's a perception because obviously we're not. But we're working very hard to have that perception out there and again, control this narrative. As you'll see these news clippings, Southern Living, Fox, Forbes, ABC, Victoria, Country Living, it's not, you want to say it's free, but it's not, okay? More and more customers want to align with their values with our dollars, and I talked about this a little bit before, but I think we're all looking for a cause to kind of get behind, and we're kind of giving them one. We've acknowledged that the customer is sick of seeing labels that don't mean anything and hearing marketing language that's full of bull. Everybody can see it and smell it a mile away. And that's why I think it was irrelevant to us to spend a ton of time and money on logos and branding and taglines that just didn't mean anything. It was much more impactful to get out there and just show and just tell the story instead of putting out a logo that, what does that mean? And this is coming from a graphic design major. Next slide. Oh, wait, was that? No, next slide. Ooh.
What'd I do?
I think you just gotta zoom out. That's our packaging. Here, zoom out just a little bit more. Eek.
Oh,
There
there we go.
we go.
Now I'm here.
Transparency. So, we repeatedly chose to put our faces out there, both my dad and myself, and I got very emotional talking about this with our cut and sew in Mississippi because we were having some real issues with quality. And I got up there and I started crying and I said, if I'm gonna put my face out there and talk about our quality and how we stand behind it and put so much emphasis on it, I want y'all to care that much. And it is hard to communicate caring to the people that work under you. But hopefully, if they see myself and my dad and all of us getting out there, putting our faces out there and talking about the product that we're putting out, that hopefully they can just get an ounce of that give a darn. But we've written blog posts, we've produced videos, photo shoots, highlighting our process, showing that there is nothing to hide. And when we do make a mistake, we acknowledge it with our customers and we make it right. We have some amazing customer service girls that, God bless them, get on the phone. But I was thinking about it yesterday as I was in the airport. I was like, you know, if they think their job is bad, it could be really a lot worse. Okay, next. And I've spoken about this a lot, but we acknowledge that the U.S. supply chain is important to our customers. Therefore, we're going to continue to make that a top priority for us. Why it is so difficult, resources are limited. The options that were here to make a textile in the United States, they've just kind of gone away for whatever reason. And I think that they can come back. I fully believe that they can, but our resources are limited right now. And I think it's okay to talk about that because it's not our fault, and I think that there's things that we can do about it. Manufacturing mistakes occur frequently, and maybe you're one of our suppliers and you've had a manufacturing mistake. And I mean, I have been part of manufacturing mistakes just because I don't, like Dad acknowledged, we are probably some of the most unexperienced textile people here. So, I mean, a lot of that has been us learning along. But when those manufacturing mistakes happen to a small business like ours, it is very impactful and it does hurt. Next slide. Like I said, some of the issues are related to our inexperience. Some issues are related to our unique farm-to-home supply chain. Like I said, when we try to make a new product, we got to go to the initial source and say, can we make this? Can you do it? Would you be willing to work with this supplier? Will you take this yarn made from somebody? Are you gonna? So there's a lot there. And then this has been a big challenge. The timing and meeting our customers' expectations has been a challenge, and that is why we created our own cut and sew in 2020. But sometimes the supply chain can be a little slow and long, and sometimes that's hard to explain to someone who is used to getting it so quickly. So I feel like that has been a big challenge in communicating that and saying that, you know, you're buying this process because it's unique, but the timing can be a little challenging. Next slide. So a reinvestment in our communities. Creating jobs shows our customer that their dollar is being put to work. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with saying, look at how we're reinvesting your money that you have entrusted us with. So we did a lot in 2020. You know, I look back and I'm like, was that smart? Should we have really done that in 2020? But we did. We built a new warehouse in 2020 that allowed us a lot of room for growth and expansion. We started our own cut and sew manufacturing facility in southern Mississippi, and we've got about 25 plus jobs there, in addition to the 10 that we have at our warehouse doing fulfillment. And the collaborations that we've been able to do with other brands has allowed us to bring more recognition to the U.S. supply chain, which I think is just the best. That These bigger suppliers are looking for a US made supply chain, and they're able to come to us to receive it through y'all. And that leads right into the expansion of our product line, which is a direct response to what our customers are asking us for. So I would say every day we get at least 3 emails that say, you know what you should do? You know what I would like to see? You should really do this. And, I think you have to take all of those with a grain of salt and say, you may like that, but will thousands of people like that? But once we have developed a relationship with our customer, which is the most expensive thing to get, they do want to return for additional products, and that will come at a lower cost. So that is what we want to continue to try to deliver to them. And so this expansion of product has allowed us to take our supply chain out to Texas, up into Maine. So we're touching so many more states and people through our supply chain by expanding our product lines. So next slide. And finally, versatility and ease of use. So this has been a major focus of mine from the beginning, but really over the past couple of years. We've expanded our footprint to meet our customers where they are. So we sell on Amazon. We have our own mobile app. We are doing collaborations. You can buy our product on Facebook or Instagram. If it is a selling platform out there that remotely makes sense, we want to be there and be part of that conversation and be an opportunity to sell to our customers there. Proof is when we had the ABC hit last year, massive traffic, but it was also massive on Amazon. Like, after that press hit came out, we hit the ground running the next day, fulfilling Amazon orders so that they wouldn't, give us a downgrading on our account, because that's how they work. I don't find being a small business to be an excuse to not be ahead of how a customer interacts. I think that feeds into the previous conversation that we had. Just because things are one way or you feel limited in resources, I don't think it's an excuse. Next slide. So, this is just a quick snapshot, and I think I've left states out, but this is the true impact of a U.S. supply chain. Customers want it and are searching for it. It's allowed us to build relationships that can continue to fuel growth, because each new relationship has introduced us to a new one and a new one and a new one, and allowed us to continue to grow our offerings. And we all have a common goal of lifting this industry and strengthening the U.S. textile supply chain. So we're now in multiple states, and every state that we hit, a customer can feel like, oh, this is impacting my area. And I think that's really cool to see. We just started using a cut and sew in New York City, of all places. Our blankets are made in Maine. That's not even on here. We have yarn that's also spun in North Carolina. The opportunities are so endless. I think it's really inspiring and awesome. Next slide. So our U.S. supply chain allows us to position ourselves uniquely in a crowded space. There's a ton of people that make bedding. I'm sure you've all heard of Boll & Branch, Brooklinen, Parachute. They've got tons of money, they've got investors. But we are able to say something they cannot say, which is we farm it ourselves, and it's all manufactured here, and we can show you the whole process. We are not selling a commodity. This is not just a product. We are selling a commitment to reinvesting in America through farming and textiles, with values that align with our customers. And I think the clearest example of that would be our recent collaboration with Banana Republic. You know, I would say if you look at us and we're a rural farm family in North Alabama, does that really resonate with San Francisco? You wouldn't think so, but I have been encouraged to have these conversations with the people over there. It is so funny. Rocio, who is the creative director at Banana Republic, she's so enthralled with my dad. And we were having our call after the launch that we had this year of the first product, and she was like, Mark, we want to come down to your farm, we want to take your picture, we want to show everybody, you know? And I mean, like, and I don't mean to, you know, like, offend anybody with the accent, but, you know, I think that's great. Like, there can be a huge disconnect between Alabama and California, but somehow we are able to bridge that gap and bring awareness where it wouldn't have been before. And that's a great opportunity, and I'm here to work on that. Because I think more Californians need Alabama. And feeding off of that, we've had some more abilities to collaborate with other companies who are designing different patterns for us and really giving us a new way to talk about our product, and that we're engaging with other groups to continue the collaboration and serve our customer. So, next slide. And I'm here to say none of this would be possible without the people in this room. I mean, y'all took a chance on a farmer and a girl in her 20s who was, you know, very inspired and had a bunch of goals, and y'all looked at us and said, you know what, it might work. I'll invest in you for a little bit and see what you can do. And hopefully we made y'all proud. But to me, this is the magic of the U.S. supply chain. Next slide. So it's still relationship driven. It's a glimmer of hope for a lot of small towns that used to thrive on textiles. Like I said, we visited every single plant, and I'm sorry, I'm running beyond, but you know, they need these jobs. And the reason why I didn't raise my hand when you were asking about, like, are you seeking young professionals? It's like a different type of workforce almost that's in these small towns, and I think that has been a huge challenge, and I'm sure it is for a lot of y'all here. You're not necessarily looking for someone who is college educated, but that is smart and willing to work and willing to grow. And that's just harder to find in these small town communities, and I don't have an answer to that, but that's something that we're experiencing. But we can be a glimmer of hope for that small town, even if it's just supplying 25 jobs. But this supply chain also allows us the unique transparency that is so desired by so many of us out there. Because we know that supply chains can be dirty and not good for people. So anytime that we can talk about the positivity of ours, I think is a great opportunity. Next slide. So this is the growth of redline cotton. And this is a screenshot from our Shopify looking at 19 through 23. We have been able to grow 20 to 30% year over year. And that's not to say that we haven't had our challenges. Like when y'all were talking about ordering too much and having supply issues, we've been there, are there, experiencing it. But I really believe that our growth demonstrates the potential and benefit of a homegrown textile supply chain. I think that this little graph is proof. Our growth is proof that the industry is relevant, it's needed and wanted. Our growth is proof that price is a barrier that we can overcome when we communicate the value that we are giving to our customers. I don't think it is our goal to be competitive with China or Pakistan or India, but we have to communicate the value. Next slide. So I said we were going to talk about opportunities. Job creation, reduced lead time, quality control, and the promotion of ethical and moral high ground are opportunities that we have for this textile supply chain here in the United States. Being open to collaborations like you guys were with us, strengthen that supply chain and raise further awareness about the importance of making things in America. Through collaborative efforts among manufacturers and retailers, we can build a robust and self-sustaining textile industry here. I truly believe it. And these are just clippings that prove it. So looking ahead for us, we're focused on continued growth. We've, like I said, seen growth of upwards of 38% year over year. I wanted to read this review because I think it's relevant to a lot of people in this room. RLC is made in the USA. I'm a proud, patriotic, God-fearing American male. Redland Cotton products transcend the textile industry. I had goosebumps opening my order. If one of you guys wrote this, please let me know. The quality exceeded my expectations. Buying from RLC is special, folks. In a very small way, I am a part of their success. The comfort of RLC products enhance my soul. I think that's a reach. So roll damn Tide, war damn Eagle, hotty toddy, and go Irish. RLC, one of life's simple pleasures. And so I felt like a lot of people here. I know that they didn't really touch on any Gamecocks or NC State or anything like that, but they got a lot of it in there. Next slide. And finally, we will continue to strengthen the communities we have footprint soon to the best of our abilities, foster resilience and support economic growth by embracing this localized approach to manufacturing. Next slide. I think this is questions. Do you have any questions or do you want to play golf? Yes.
I want to say something. First of all, Anna and Mark, thank you so much for coming. But it's been a pleasure working with you guys, and it has been absolutely amazing to watch. From 2016, Dan Nation was running Spun Lab with Parkdale. It was a group of 5 or 6 of us in a little circle, and we were talking about running a bed sheet and building this supply chain. And the vision that Anna had was really hard for me to grasp. It was a small sample, and we were designing a heirloom sheet, and to be able to take that and go to the growth of where you've gone, it is a humbling experience that you have proved what you said in that meeting, and starting off very small. And as much as I believe in these guys, I actually called Mark, and I think I social media Anna. Yeah. But I was like, listen, guys, this is so popular that I hear about it in Gaffney, I hear about it in Clemson, you see it on Fox News. I was like, I want to go with you guys to Shark Tank and help me. Let's take this thing to another level. But it has been so awesome. I don't know even if the presentation does it justice of how awesome it's been to watch you guys grow and to get the feedback, even locally. I mean, when Brooke puts it on Facebook, she'll have friends say, I didn't know that Redland cotton sheets were made in Gaffney, and I didn't, and this is my favorite sheet. And then when I have a hard day at work, if I get my Redland sheet cotton sheets, then I can sleep better. So it has been one of the most awesome things in the last number of years, and it's a breath of fresh air, and thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you.
And I also say that there was a spike in their sales. I guess it was 2021. And so people were emailing and calling the Redland Cotton, and they're saying, well, we're on back order. So people started calling Hamrick Mills and said, hey, don't you make Redland cotton sheets? Well, hurry up and make them. We're waiting on the order. So I was like, I got to get in on this. So I tried. I called Mark. I was like, hey, y'all need any help? Like, let me invest. But thank you, and it's one of the most amazing American-made stores that's out there. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Cameron forgot to say roll. Oh, sorry.
The best place to buy these sheets is at redlandcotton.com. Like I said, you can buy on yes, you can buy on Amazon. You can download our mobile app. You could just by being here today, your phone has probably listened to me talk and start seeing ideas. Yes.
Cameron forgot to say roll damn tigers.
Hey, just sell more sheets. Work down the inventory.
Yes. Amen. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna. What a wonderful story. Now let's take a moment to give all our speakers a round of applause. We'll conclude today's business session with a few announcements, golfers' instructions.